What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 15, The Calm Before. So, when I've been looking up, like, on IMDb, just to kind of, whenever I upload a video, I go in and I just kind of have all the characters in front of me. So, put tags, make people somewhat more likely to click on your video. But anyway, so looking at IMDb, though, and looking at the IMDb scores for this season, I did see that this one had the highest rating. So about halfway through, honestly, my thought was, this this has the highest rating? Really? I mean, so far we've got a little bit of the fair, which has been nice. Good to see everybody back together. The scene with them signing their version, I guess, of the Declaration of Independence almost. Honestly, it's all I can think of whenever I see it, just because I imagine, like, what was it, National Treasure? Like the tube that Ezekiel was carrying it in for a while. It's almost exactly like the tube that Nick Cage has whenever he's carrying around the Declaration. But anyways, it was a nice scene. Then all of a sudden there's some middle school bullies showing up and like, hey Lydia, you're new here. Well, guess what? Addie likes Henry and you're new and you can't have Henry because Addie has him, so you need to just go away. Nobody here likes you. You don't even go here. I mean, it was just, that whole thing was unbearable. And I will admit, seeing Addie and whatever, I don't remember the guy, seeing both of them gone at the end of the episode, that one, I was just like, oh, okay, that's fine. That's good. I'm fine with those two. But yeah, no, all of that was going on. I'm just thinking, this is the highest, like, something's got to happen here at the end that raises the rating. And boy, did it. Because, I don't know, it was told in that sort of out of, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of order storytelling, where we're seeing bits and pieces of the story. And at first, I was kind of getting that feeling, but I wasn't quite sure. I was trying to figure out when things were happening. When did Daryl, Carol, Michonne, and Yumiko, when did they get taken? Compared to what we were seeing at the fair, and then Alpha showing up in the theater with Lydia. It was difficult to figure out exactly what was going on. But once you kind of get to that moment where she's like, I made a mark, and I made sure to show you where the boundary is. There definitely was that gut feeling of like, oh no. Because my first thought was, she got to Lydia. And whenever you see her in the movie theater with Lydia, you're like, oh, crap. But then Daryl asks, did you kill Lydia? And my thought is, okay, so that makes me think Lydia's not dead, because that's what they expect us to think. So is Henry dead? And so that gut feeling, that rock in your stomach whenever you feel like somebody's dead, that you're like, oh no, not Henry. Like, not that I really cared about Henry and Lydia and their little romance and the middle school bullies picking on her because she's new. Like, all of that didn't interest me. But knowing how much Ezekiel and Carol care for Henry, that is what got me feeling like, oh shit, not Henry, please not Henry. And so whenever they're going up there, I just have like this sinking pit in my stomach, like, oh god, it's gonna be Henry, it's gonna be Henry. And then I see a line of heads, and I'm thinking, holy crap, who is up there? And honestly, that is kind of what The Walking Dead does well. It hasn't really done it for the past couple seasons. The one where, Negan's doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, that was kind of up there because you didn't know who's going to die. But at the same time, it was also very much like here's your cliffhanger. Oh, you don't know, somebody died, but you don't know who. It felt very much like a gimmick. And then once, Glenn got hit too, that's when things were like, oh crap, I didn't see that coming. But that is what The Walking Dead has done well in the past. They do a good job of making you care about these characters, putting them in intense situations, but it's that moment when it's out of nowhere. Like, you were not expecting it. Again, I was expecting maybe Lydia, maybe Henry to be up there. I did not expect a whole line of people that we know pretty well. Obviously the highwaymen, that was just kind of like, oh crap, they died? But then all of a sudden you see, like, who was it? I can't remember who the first one was that was like, hey, have you seen, because they went through like one at a time, somebody asking, have you seen so and so, and then showing they're up there. I don't remember who the first one was though. I think it was the redhead, not Addie. It was a different redhead, but I don't remember her name now. She didn't leave much of an impression. But then you see like they're asking, oh, have you seen what's her name, the older woman that's married to the guy? I'm like, oh crap. And then you see Alden up on stage looking around, and I mean I thought for a while that Alden was going to be dead because again they hooked up he and Enid for some reason, right? Because why else would they hook them up unless one of them is going to die soon and you want to care. But honestly, I thought for sure it was going to be Alden just because he's not really somebody that we cared about that much. You know, he was one of the, I'm pretty sure he was one of the saviors before, but I think he was one of those saviors that was trying to be better, was trying to help out because he realized, wait, this is something better than what we had before. And so my thought process was, well, they're putting him with Enid so that when he dies, we have a reason to care about him because it's going to hurt Enid. And we, you know, most people I feel like have grown somewhat attached to Enid. She's not one of the best characters in my opinion, but I mean, it's Enid. You know, she and Carl had a little bit of a thing. It was cute. She pushed on past that. She managed to find a way past just survive somehow her whole thing. And I thought her whole scene with Henry, you know, whenever she found him and Lydia at the cabin, I thought it was a good scene and it showed how much she's grown. So whenever her head was on the spike, my mind was blown. And honestly, I'm kind of glad when I went to Dragon Con this year. They had a few Walking Dead. So like Carl was there. I think, what's his name? I don't remember his name now, but he was one of the earlier characters. He was the big burly black guy. I just remember there was this one scene where he looked like he was dead, surrounded by walkers, and then suddenly, you know, the rest of the group is passed. They hear rustling, turn around, and he's just coming through. His hands are all bloody from all the walkers he took out. He was badass. He was there, but Enid was there too. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go talk to her because, yeah, I didn't know at the time that she died later this season that I'm watching. But yeah, I mean, that one was shocking. Tara was, I mean, they were giving her a lot more to do this season. And honestly, it's kind of shocking from a Hilltop point of view because Maggie left. So Jesus stepped in as kind of I think it's called de facto leader. I don't know if that's the right word or not. But he steps in, and now he gets killed. So Tara steps in, and she's now the leader of Hilltop, and now she's dead too. And hers was just, I don't know, I didn't expect her to die. Like, she was one of the ones, no clue in my mind that there was a possibility that she could go, and suddenly there's her head on the spike, and I'm thinking, holy crap, what's going to happen at Hilltop now? Which, of course, at the end, it sort of shows it's not necessarily just going to be, oh, well, who's going to be leading Hilltop? Who's going to be leading here? It really is going to be more of a collective effort from now on. But yeah, that final scene, it really, really, really hit hard. And it got me back into that feeling of what made The Walking Dead such an intriguing watch. You know, it's not necessarily the best show, honestly, with the daylight savings time. And, you know, it gets dark at, what is it? It's only 6:30 right now, and it is pitch black outside. That feeling of depression because, you know, it's getting so dark, it can get to you. So maybe watching a show like this right around now is not the best idea. But it's shocking. It gets you invested. It gets you really, again, hits you in the gut. And you got a rock sitting in there. You're like, oh God, I can't believe that just happened. So they're very good about doing that. But as far as like just my thoughts overall, I mean, yeah, it really paid off in the end. I don't know what the final episode is going to be about now because this really did feel kind of like I don't know, maybe a mid-season finale or a climax to taking it. But I know the Whisperers are not going to be taken out in the next episode. So it feels more like I don't know. Like, I don't know what to expect for this final episode now because clearly we're going to continue this fight into next season. So maybe this is going to be sort of a climax of we hit back now. I know it's called The Storm, calm before the storm, makes sense. And they did show some snow, so I'm guessing it's going to be a snowstorm coming up. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect. Honestly, I'm really curious to see what happens with Carol and Ezekiel. I know Ezekiel's going to be completely heartbroken, because he loved Henry. Henry was his son, and I can't imagine how it's going to affect him. From Carol's point of view, I feel like she's going to go right back into the more scary Carol that we've seen before, where you don't want to take her cookies, you don't want to go pick flowers because you just feel like she could snap in a moment, which is good for our group because we need that Carol right now to take on this really awful, and clearly they showed that they're not just going to be pushed over. And that's kind of what I was worried about when we first saw them, is they seem like a bit of a smaller group. They seemed, I don't know, a little too easy to track and take down. Daryl stepping in and getting Henry and Lydia out of there. They seemed very easy to beat. So to show how easy it was for them to sneak into their camp, get all of these people and kill them, and put their heads on spikes to terrify everybody. And also, when Alpha showed Daryl the huge gorge. Is it a gorge? I don't know. But the huge space with all the walkers in it. It shows that they do have, first of all, they're intelligent, but they do have good, I guess, fighting capabilities. And again, that's something that I talked about. It is kind of intriguing to see how they can use the walkers to fight against you, how they can use the disguises. We saw in this one how Alpha used the one woman's hair to sneak into the camp. There's more to them than just, we're walkers out here and that's all we are. So yeah, it's definitely set up for an exciting, I guess, showdown between the two groups. But with that being said, we just had, 2 seasons where our main characters were fighting one group. So it is a little bit, when I think about it from that point of view, it is a little bit frustrating that we basically went from our main characters are fighting one group, and now they beat them, to now in this season we bring in another group, and now next season is going to be all about fighting this one group. Granted, it will be more so with the idea of everybody working together to build a society while trying to take down this group. I feel like that's sort of going to both play into each other. But yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think anybody else was up on the spikes that I didn't talk about that shocked me or not. Because yeah, it was the two that definitely stood out for me. Because again, Henry, I knew it was going to be, knowing that it was probably not going to be Lydia, that was probably going to be Henry. I knew more so it wasn't going to be a shock. It was going to be the reaction of Carol and Ezekiel that was going to hurt. But Tara and Enid were definitely the two, what just happened? What just happened here? Also, very random, but this just popped up in this episode. I think it just popped up. Magna and Yumiko are a couple. It just sort of came out of nowhere. And again, it sort of made me wonder if one of them were going to be in danger. So honestly, when they were walking up the hill and I see Yumiko's a part of that group, I'm thinking, oh God, is Magna going to be up there? But have they been a couple before this, or is this just the first time that they're like, oh no, there are feelings here? Because I never got any sort of couple-y vibes between the two of them. So I don't know if this is just something that started this episode, but there were hints toward it earlier. I didn't really catch any of that. So that caught me off guard. And again, it made me just feel like, oh no, one of them's going to die soon. Because yeah, anytime, it really does feel like anytime something good like that happens, honestly, Rosita, Sadiq, Father Gabriel, all three of them, I feel like are in danger right now. When Enid called Alden her boyfriend, I'm like, one of you. I thought it was Alden, but yeah, Enid was clearly the one in trouble. When obviously Henry and Lydia getting together in this episode and really seeming happy, and because I was worried there was going to be this whole, oh, you just don't want me here, and she's going to run away, and they weren't going to talk about it. But after they did talk about it and Henry went off on his own, that's when I started to get that gut feeling ooh, something bad's about to happen. Jerry and his wife having kids, I'm thinking, oh God, please don't kill Jerry. Um, yeah, there's just anytime something happy like that happens, there is just sort of a gut feeling that it's not going to last long. But all right, one more episode to finish off this season, and then I'll dig into season 10, which is going to be longer. Yay. But anyways, that's it for me. On to the next and final episode of the season. I'll see you there. And finally, episode 16, The Storm. So definitely not what I was expecting for a season finale. Like most of the time, your season finales are a lot more climactic, exciting, tension building. Honestly, it wasn't that much. I mean, we just had so many deaths in the last episode. I figure if anybody was going to die, it was going to be kind of a side character, probably nobody main character-wise. And honestly, there weren't that many scenes of huge tension. The only one that came kind of close was them crossing the river. But even then, the tension I was expecting was like something starts coming at them, like a bunch of walkers or something. And, the ice being unstable, maybe it's going to break. People are having to cross last minute. Maybe it starts to break under the feet of a few people. A couple people fall in. Now we're dealing with possible hypothermia. That's where I expected the tension to come in. But it never did. Everybody crossed, no problem. There were only a couple lines of not everybody at once, and everybody just kind of crossed at once, and it was all okay. There was a moment where Daryl fell over because a walker grabbed his ankle. I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're definitely going to kill Daryl by just some random walker. Like, that's the thing. There are some characters, if they get pinned by a walker, I might be a little concerned for them. Daryl, Michonne, Carol, honestly, most of your main cast, they're not going to die from just some random walker. It's not going to happen. If Daryl honestly goes out by getting bit by some walker just because he got surprised by one that was hiding in the ground, people would riot. I would have heard so much more about how terrible The Walking Dead is and, oh, don't watch it, it's the worst show ever. I would have heard about it. So, yeah, there was just not much tension in this episode. Not to say that it was a bad episode, it's just not what I really expected for a season finale. But there was some good stuff. So first of all, everything to do with kind of the kingdom moving to Hilltop. I will say a little weird that we're just sort of done with kingdom for now. Obviously, a kingdom is not its place, it's a people, or whatever Korg said at the end of Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok. So obviously the people of kingdom are still around, so it's not like the kingdom is dead and gone. But the kingdom itself, like the walls, the buildings, all of that is just done at the beginning of this episode. And I really am surprised that they decided to do away with it like that. Now, granted, they could always go back, but it does feel like a serious push away from kind of where we were. There were a couple episodes this season where one of the big talking points was we have movies now. We don't really have a spot for a movie theater in the other places, do we? So the kingdom was the one place to do that. It's kind of a big deal, something that made people feel like maybe we're returning to society a little bit, and now it's just gone, So it's a little weird that they decided to do that, but, it's nice to see we're getting people back together, everybody staying in kind of now just two places instead of three, and I do think that does feel a little bit more like there's a togetherness about it, instead of everybody living in separate areas, and to go see each other they have to cross over all these territories and stuff or take the long way around. So now that Kingdom is in Hilltop, it does make things feel a little bit closer and tighter knit. Like I said, the journey there, aside from the river scene, there wasn't much tension to it. The Lydia side story, I kind of expected it was going to go this way, after the first scene with her trying to get bit by the walker and Carol seeing. I kind of figured that's what it was leading to, is Carol essentially seeing that Lydia might be her chance. It really stinks for her just because we have seen Carol deal with so many moments of she's trying to be a mother figure for somebody and she keeps losing the people she's trying to take care of. So with Henry, that one definitely felt like, I think, the biggest loss since her daughter, that's Sophia, I think. Definitely a big loss for her, just because she was with Henry for so long. She watched him grow up. She was his mother pretty much for so long. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna hurt, and I don't know for sure where she's gonna go from here. I don't really know if she's gonna sort of revert back to I'm about to go beast mode on these people. I know from the audience's point of view, we would love to see Carol just absolutely go ham and destroy the entirety. I actually watched a few in between watching the last episode and this one. I did watch a couple reaction videos just because I was curious to see what people's reactions were to seeing everybody's heads on the pikes. And the Tara one definitely got a lot of reaction. The Henry one, though, there were a couple people that was like, oh, Carol's about to just destroy the Whisperer. One guy was like, I don't know how she's going to do it, but she's going to build an atom bomb and just drop it right on the camp. And I'm like, if anybody could do it, Carol could. But at the same time, they have kind of shown she doesn't want to go back to that necessarily. Like, they had that moment in this episode where she's talking to Daryl and she's like, I feel like I'm losing myself again. So from her point of view, she doesn't want to revert to that because she feels less than human when she gets to that point. So it really does intrigue me to see what they're going to do with her next, whether or not she decides to revert to beast mode and just absolutely destroy them, or whether she tries to keep that humanity. Obviously, she's going to try to find a way to stop them, but is she just going to go in and kill? Or are they going to try to find maybe some of the Whisperers are not fully on board for what they're doing? Obviously we saw Lydia's not. There was the one woman with the baby who she did look upset to give up her baby. So maybe there are some people who are more staying there out of fear rather than staying there because, oh, I just want to be a walker for the rest of my life. This is just part of nature, like what Alpha believes. So yeah, I'm curious and I want to see more about that. But anyways, her and Lydia, I do feel like this is her seeing another chance to not necessarily replace Henry or anything like that, but it's a chance for her to guide somebody else, to be another, a mother figure again. Because without that, I think that's what causes her to lose herself. If she doesn't have somebody that she can take care of, if she doesn't have somebody who she can see almost as her child, I do think that's what causes her to find that deeper, darker side of herself that we've seen so many times before. So I think she might see Lydia as kind of an anchor point to not go down that dark side again. So yeah, if that's where they're going with it, I like it. I'll see what they do with it, but who knows for sure. I will say the thing with Ezekiel and Daryl didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I get Ezekiel from his point of view. He is hurting, obviously of course he would be. But still, it just didn't seem in character for him to be like, hey, Daryl, back away. Back away from her. Like, I get he doesn't want to lose Carol. I get that he already lost Henry and he wants to hold on to her at least because she makes him feel safe. She makes him feel complete. It's the part of him that's not the whole King Ezekiel, like, brava and all of that stuff. So I get not wanting to lose it, but it still came off as kind of a, hey, don't you talk to my woman like that, okay? She's mine. Don't talk to her like... It didn't come off quite right. And I appreciated that they did have a couple scenes of, like, Carol basically saying, he's blaming you because he doesn't want to blame me. But I still feel like that line could have been maybe written a little bit better, maybe a little bit more of a dialogue between him and Daryl instead of just him kind of saying, you should move on, you should leave, because it just knocked his character down a little bit in my opinion. Let's see, stuff in Alexandria, it was fine. For the most part, it was very straightforward. It was kind of what I expected. They go into this one place, they try to use the fire, it doesn't work, so they need to go into this other place, but they have to cross in the storm, which means they'll have to cross together. Judith, Daryl's dog is out there. Of course, she's going to go help the dog because who wouldn't in her shoes? Like the fact that Negan was like, that dog better poop gold nuggets. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a dog. You're going to go save the dog. Everybody would do that, Negan. Come on, don't make me hate you, okay? I really like you. Don't make me hate you right now. But then, of course, Negan sees that, and of course he's going to go save her because I do feel like they are giving him a bit of a redemption arc now. And especially with the Whisperers, they do need somebody like Negan who can, I guess, not necessarily be a leader, but be a strategic thinker. because we've seen clearly he knows how to plan, he knows how to strategize, and they need somebody like that right now because clearly the Whisperers, they know the terrain well enough, they know how to, I guess, position themselves to really make sure that they're in the best position to either ambush or basically just take control of the situation. So with Negan stepping in, he'll be a little bit more of a wild card factor. Don't really know what he's going to do, don't really know what he's going to plan, but I kind of like that feeling of it feels like he's going to join the team soon. And him going after Judith and saving her and the dog, that's kind of the perfect olive branch of like, okay, you know what? Maybe he's not the same Negan anymore. Maybe he is trying to change. I like that. And while it was very straightforward and very obvious, I still want to see it. So I'm glad that they chose to do that. Also, he's still freaking hilarious. I mean, got him ripping on the whole like Gabriel, Rosita, and Sadiq situation. It was just great. Oh man, I honestly can't wait to see him interacting with the group more often, but being a part of them because he's still an asshole, but at least he'll be an asshole that wants to help. And honestly, I always feel like those characters are the most interesting to me. They very few and far between. Most of the time, if a character's an asshole, they're a bad guy. But there are some. I'm thinking mostly of like the Danganronpa series. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, whatever. But there are a couple characters that they're total jerks. They make everybody feel uncomfortable. They always antagonize everybody. They're trying to, just pin and needle everybody, trying to get them into a rage. But ultimately, they still want everybody to survive. They still want everybody to be okay in the end. And it's very difficult to know exactly what they're thinking at one time because you feel like maybe they're going to betray everyone, but ultimately it feels like maybe they want what's best for everyone. So it's going to be interesting to see Negan kind of in that role now, where clearly he does care about some of these people. He sympathizes, like he said, with the kingdom, so I like that connection. And you still feel like, though, can we truly trust him? Because he's still Negan, he still wants power and control because that's what he's always wanted, unless he's starting to change. But anything else? It ends with a couple cliffhangers for next season. We got Alpha apparently getting herself stronger or whatever they were talking about. I don't really know what that's referencing. I do kind of wonder because there were those 3 walkers that were just frozen. None of the other walkers out there seem to be like frozen to the ground or like unable to move. So I do wonder if those 3 were set up as kind of like a bait type of situation because they clearly left. So if they were gone, they wouldn't know if everybody was keeping their promise about not crossing into their territory. So if those 3 were left there and they take those 3 out, then maybe that would be their sign of, oh yeah, they did come through here. See? They killed these 3. Nothing else would have done this, so now it's time to go to war. But yeah, that was just something I had a thought of, but clearly she's trying to prepare herself physically and mentally by whipping herself on the arm or having Beta do it. I don't really know why. It's just, I guess it's that kind of primal mindset of, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, so any pain, it's just there to make you stronger. And then, of course, the random voice on the radio. Maybe it's going to be Maggie, because she's still out there somewhere. Maybe it's going to be this group that Jadis Ann was a part of that she took Rick to. I don't know. It's a little bit of a mystery. We'll see how it goes. And, yeah, I'm going to hop right into Season 10 after this. Yeah, looking forward to it. This, honestly, final thoughts for the season overall. The first part of it, a little frustrating at times, with Maggie and Daryl kind of going against Rick and being a little bit too stupid about the whole thing, honestly. Just not trusting Rick, not going by him, even though he's helped them for so long and he's always looked out for people and tried to do what's best for people. Just suddenly turning against him in the season. But how Rick's story came to an end was good. It was enjoyable. It was tension-packed, and that's always good. And then the Whisperers getting introduced, the time jump, all of that, started off a little slow. I liked what they were doing, but it was still a little strange to see everybody really split up again. But I think it really ended on a, I want to see them go to war now. I want to see them take it to the Whispers after how the last episode ended. It really is seemingly like it's going to be fitting up to be a really intense and personal battle, with how many people that they took that were connected to a lot of people in the group, and really, meant a lot to the people around. I feel like they're doing a good job of really getting us, the audience, on the same side and the same mindset of all of our main characters of like, I can't believe who they took. I can't believe that they just killed so many people, so many characters that we knew, and some we loved, some we didn't. It's definitely a good setup for next season, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to tackle them, how they're going to figure out how to battle them, and what's going to happen along the way, all the twists and turns it's going to take. So, yeah, that's about it, though, for this episode and this season. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this final episode and the season overall? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Walking Dead reviews, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.